Okay, it's November 22nd, 5:38. We'll start our technology meeting. Daniel Boone. We'll go ahead and get started by introducing ourselves. Kevin Strobel.
Scott Matz.
Kristen Thompson.
George Olson.
Brett Cooper.
Okay. Want to get started?
All right. So under the project planning, under infrastructure, I wanted to just provide an update on our progress as we're looking at our phone system options. So since our last meeting, we've evaluated 4 vendors and cut that number then in half as far as the 2 that we are seriously engaging. The first of which is Mitel, who is our current phone system provider. They do have the ability to move their system to a cloud-hosted environment. So we have been happy with their performance. We don't have any doubt as far as migrating just from on-prem to the cloud as far as their functionality goes. If you recall from our discussion in September, looking to get a unified experience across our various platforms for web conferencing, for phone calls, for chat, that sort of thing. And the Mitel system would help us progress in that goal. We would not fully be able to achieve it just because of some limitations on their video conferencing capabilities and the number of attendees that can be a part of their service. So given some of the large group meetings that we have to host, certainly in classroom environments and that sort of thing, that would be an asterisk next to their evaluation. But from a true phone system perspective, they could deliver on that platform.
Are you considering going to their video conferencing platform versus Zoom?
It would be.
Is that the thought?
So a goal would be to get that unified. Okay. We would not be able to entertain that with them. But a goal, if we can locate a platform that can achieve that would.
I got you.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Zoom
correct.
Doesn't cost us anything, right?
Zoom does cost us. So for faculty licenses,
I got you.
We have a countywide consortium that we participate in on that one.
I got you.
Yeah. So to that end, the other platform that we decided to move forward would be hopefully another well-known one would be Webex, and they do have functionality that would allow us to achieve across the board as far as video conferencing, phone, and collaboration. So that was a plus. And then as we engaged in conversations with them, just some functionality came to light that we really weren't expecting, and particularly looking at it through the lens of our integrated classrooms. They have additional functionality that we don't currently have as far as the ability to integrate with our learning management systems, both Blackboard or Schoology, that they tie directly into the platform. And they also have additional functionality when we look at student safety for moderating to ensure inappropriate content is not being shared back and forth, whether that's in chat or meetings of that nature. So these were additional features that we had not originally set out to find, but it was a pleasant surprise on our front, and that's what helped them leapfrog up to the top of the list there. So it really came down to just additional options, and actually we were this morning we were just talking about options for our students, and that's really what this would allow us to have is some additional growth, some functionality that we don't currently have. Both platforms are similarly priced. Both platforms are about $5,000 to $8,000 over our existing costs, which we do believe we can, negotiate that down. None of these numbers are hard numbers at this point. We're
going from an in-house system to online.
That's correct.
And it's going up.
Correct.
Doesn't that trend typically go the other direction?
No.
Save money going online.
So the one piece, the cost we don't capture is the hardware cost on our end.
Right.
So these would be recurring costs that we have. If we were to average our hardware costs out over the same lifetime, it would probably be almost equivalent.
Okay.
In their yearly agreement, you see that slight uptick because they're taking on the hardware management and that sort of thing. With our hardware, I don't typically factor that in as much because it's hard to weight. Our phone system is using 20% of our hardware versus this system is using 10%. So rather than give fuzzy numbers like that,
I
that's one thing we don't really factor in.
And the content management piece of it?
Yes.
Like you said, it's something about texting and some things like that.
Yes.
And the students aren't texting through our system anyway.
So it would be, so even in projects or different things.
Oh, inside projects, I got you. Once
Yeah.
they're inside the project, I got you.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, they're not for
Yeah.
day-to-day.
I just want to understand, it's like,
Yeah.
that's really odd. How
Do
can
we
they do that?
currently not have something?
So we have functionality for email, that we do monitor email, we can flag for like self-harm and different things, but we have not gone down any real collaborative path for student projects because we do lack that functionality outside of email or things in like Google Docs or certain things like that. So that's a known weakness, and thus we have not rolled out additional functionality for our students that could be possible for like small group projects or things like that, just because we know we wouldn't be able to sustain monitoring and ensuring nothing inappropriate is happening. So facing that, we just don't offer it, frankly, because we know we can't monitor it. So those are two vendors currently we're engaging in. We'll continue discussions over the next couple weeks. This is a project till we fine-tune numbers and whatnot. We're looking at probably more January, February timeframe before we have a definitive recommendation. But those are basically the two paths we're marching down on that front. Any additional questions on that one?
Yeah. That's the last frontier in terms of replacements of
That is true.
large systems.
That is true. Yep, you got it. You got it. All right. Under the same heading, end user equipment. I just want to briefly touch on this because it is something for this year is not as notable. We don't have a heavy end user equipment, so that would be student equipment, faculty equipment. This year we're light on that front as we try and avoid any peaks and valleys in our budget. When we have a heavy infrastructure year, we try to have light on the end user side. So just to make note of it, this year we only have one small mini lab. That's about a lab of 15 computers is what we consider a mini lab. That's here at the high school for the music department. And then we have miscellaneous employee laptops like for our psychologists and different things. So we're looking at, on that side, under 40 pieces of equipment basically on that front. So it's not a heavy year for that. And I just more so call attention to that because that won't be as substantial of a conversation like it was last year. Just so you're aware of reasoning behind that one.
And we're trying to get the leases and all the things to kind of correlate so we kind of have more of a steady.
Yep, correct.
But you can't make up for things that just fail.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. Yeah.
Now, there insurance on most of our stuff in case of a failure?
For the students,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Just the students, though?
Yeah, for the faculty, we do see that same failure and breakage rate as we do
Right.
with students, just
Okay.
because, general use, really.
Right.
Yeah. Any questions on that front?
No? Sounds good.
All right. Jumping down then under the integrated learning heading, so last, 2 weeks ago, November 8th, we had another in-service day where we continued progress on that front. After that particular in-service, we did have a meeting. Mrs. Owens, principals, the coaches, and I all came together to take a look at the courses just to see where they're at as far as the milestone is concerned, and we were pleased to see the build-out that is occurring there as far as following our outlines for organization, that sort of thing, content being uploaded. So based on that review, we were able to adjust any additional in-servicing, any additional guidance we need as the coaches meet weekly with teachers and that sort of thing. But it was a great checkpoint for us just to ensure that we're continuing down the right path as far as our build-out on that front and ensure that no one's going down the wrong path inadvertently or anything like that. So I believe our next in-service is January. So we'll continue, really with that same format as far as reviewing our content at this point.
Okay. Sounds good. Relatively not a challenging year so far.
Yeah, that's right. Not on the for that. In November
Try the
2019,
hard
we would have
way
said that too.
Right, exactly. No, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of going as planned.
Correct. So
Had a good plan. It's going well.
Yep. Again, we'll continue really with our project planning, and then as we go into
Anything that foresee for the future over the next year or two
Yeah.
in terms of projects?
No, honestly, you actually hit the nail on the head as far as the phone system. That's our last major. At this point, then we do have everything on a replacement schedule, so it's
Right.
a rinse and repeat kind of thing, unless a disruptor like COVID arrives that we change our directions, that sort of thing. But we're finally about to hit a really great point that we know when things are being replaced. We can predict it. We can plan for it. So I think I'm pleased. I'm really pleased where we're at.
Awesome. Any questions?
I do have a question about are we supposed to purchase additional insurance on the iPads?
So that is a yearly optional fee if you would like. It is not a mandatory fee,
So
but that's
what does
a
that
yearly
cover?
thing.
What does that cover if they like?
Screen damage, case damage, and if it's lost or stolen, if there's a police report, then that covers it as well.
So if my kid does break a screen or something, what do I have? I have to pay to.
Yeah,
repair
without the insurance, yeah, it'd be the cost, which averages about $90.
Okay.
The insurance is $35.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
You lose the whole system, changes the game.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's where the really insurance comes in case of a lost iPad completely. That's the biggest difference, I think, for me. Like when Cole, I was on the tail end of that, my last was going through, it was like, the insurance was a no-brainer for me because it was like, if he loses that thing or these, not that boys would forget anything where they leave it.
I know.
Ever.
My
But
son
if they
keeps coming
did-
home with it outside his backpack.
If they ever did by chance, I'd be covered. So
Yeah.
that was a welcome
I wish
thing.
they had like OtterBoxes on those things.
Yeah, we did
Or how
discuss
about
that,
find
but
my,
we do have.
you have that
So
already.
yeah, as long as
that's a
it's
big
on
plus.
Wi-Fi, we can do it.
It's got to stay on.
Find my iPad, and
Yep.
iPads have been found in interesting locations, but
Yep.
the important thing is they were found.
Yep. So, and the insurance last year, we were on a good side, so
Yes.
eventually, as we go down this path, we get to feel that high water mark and maybe even lower, we have to make adjustments.
Yeah, I believe that would be a topic of conversation for
Yeah,
the upcoming
can't
year.
sweep it, it's there for a reason, so.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be swept out of there if that's
Correct.
not the intent of it, so.
Correct. Yeah. Now that we, last year with the elementary and this year we'll see a good operating norm for that. I think. Yeah,
We
that is
haven't had
something.
everybody on before, so you don't know what the.
Yeah, last year was our first year, and didn't want to use that number of students who were at home. So this year is probably a decent reflection of what a normal
agree.
year will be. Yeah.
Those accounts have to be sitting in good condition, right?
They are. Oh yes. Yeah. We every
Maybe it's
year-
something we should all, what do you think, Julie? We should probably look at that next year. Those accounts are probably sitting with tons of money in them. Not that, we couldn't have something catastrophic happen, but that's the idea behind self-insurers. We can look at it and go, you know what, let's make it 25. And just, it's not a profit maker. The idea was
Yeah,
just
the first 2 years, I know that Scott made use of some of the other school districts in the area that and asked for their input on where theirs was and whether or not they were taking in more than they were, whether it was a losing proposition or and we had talked about the possibility of raising or lowering it depending on where we were.
right.
But now it's been, what,
Uh,
5 years at the high school?
4. We're on
4
year
years
4.
at the high school, and then 2 and 1, right?
Yep.
And it could be that, they get to high school, there's a break on it because the insurance is less. I mean, because they're more responsible. I mean, that's really what's all boiled down to. It's like risk. You're a bad driver, you got to pay a little bit more. So maybe the elementary school pays a little bit more. Not that you want to do that, but
I mean, it is possible that that's true. It is also possible that,
Keep it on one kid.
parents of the elementary school students are keeping better track of where their kid's iPad is than the ones at the high school. So, it just.
Could be just the opposite, okay.
Yeah, Matt, Mr. Matz has to give us the data.
Yeah, I guess I'm suggesting that we probably
No, I
soon
that's
could
right.
probably take a look at it, at least look at the amount that was in there. What did we use over the last few years, and kind of back into it and just kind of get a feel for it. It might be a win.
Right.
So if you just put the insurance on the riskier child, and
Right.
the other child,
Right.
can you move it?
You have that choice. It is serial number driven, so.
Yeah, I had one of each as well.
I think the covers, sometimes they can be tough on the covers, they tear them, I think that's the one thing that
I know that.
All right. Anything else? If not, that'll conclude our meeting.